it's Niki, Shelton, and Kerri Selby, and we are keeping it real. Kerri, you're doing something kind of cool today, and I wanted to give you a couple minutes to talk about what you're doing because it's like it hits so many people, unfortunately, but it's such a positive thing that you're doing, and I want to hear all about it. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump in today because we got a full day. We've got Bryan with the HomeTrooper inspection services coming up, and so we're going to just kind of keep going, but let's give you a few minutes here to go ahead and do this. Oops,
well, thanks so much. As most people know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And so we as a company have put together our second annual Brunch for Breast Cancer, and we partner with our nonprofit, which is called Fairway Cares. Fairway Cares helps to support people that are going through tough trials, whether it be becoming sick, losing a loved one, they might need financial support. So that nonprofit helps to get things to people. And so they're partnering with us on this so that we can use all of the proceeds from our event to support local women with financial grants who are currently going through chemotherapy. So it's going to be a great event. We have lots of raffle items. We're going to do an auction, and it's going to include brunch buffet and mimosas, pink mimosa bar.
Yum.
So information is on there. If you have any other questions, please reach out to me. I'd love to give you some more information because we are looking for event sponsors, and we could always use more donation items to raffle off.
Perfect. Okay, that's great information and such a good cause because there's so many that's been affected by cancer. And you were saying that it's not only breast cancer, it could be any type of cancer though at this point, right? Like
it could be, but October specifically does focus on breast cancer. And what a lot of people don't understand is that men and women are both affected by breast cancer. So it's open to the public. We encourage men and women to come. We will have some guest speakers from Virginia Mason that will come in and talk about breast cancer awareness as well. So it's really going to be a day full of emotions, but also joy. We'll have an honor wall for people that have survived cancer, but also in remembrance of those that have unfortunately succumbed to it.
Okay, so we talked about scary or sad a little bit. We talked about happy a little bit. Let's go into scary because we're getting up to fall and October and Halloween and stuff. One of my favorite holidays. And we have a special guest today. We have Bryan with, like I said, HomeTrooper, and he is going to come in and give us some tips on the fall. And we learned a lot of really cool things about Bryan and his business. So let's bring Bryan on. Hi, Bryan. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Good. So give us a little quick information about your company and a little bit about you, how long you've been doing this, what your company, I know you mentioned some stuff to Kerri right before we came on, that I think our viewers should know. So go give us some information there, and then we'll jump into your tips.
Okay. So my name's Bryan. I'm the owner of HomeTrooper Inspection Services. We're located out of Gig Harbor, but we do service all of Western Washington. We're going into our third year now as a business. And today we're going to talk about fall maintenance tips and how to get your house ready for the wintertime.
Well, a few things that you left out, which are very important, is that you are a veteran.
Yeah.
And you're passionate about serving our veterans and first responders. So to me, that speaks volumes about you and your character. So I want to make sure people know that about you.
Thank you. And we do offer 10% off to all military and first responders. But yep, like you said, I am a veteran myself. I was in the Navy for 5 years. I was actually stationed right here in Bremerton off the Stennis. So.
Well, great. We thank you for your service.
Thank you
very much. So you're going to talk to us about some tips. I know the winter's coming. I know it's starting. Is it raining there today? I think I heard I heard somebody else talking today and saying it wasn't necessarily in Bremerton, but it was outside the area a little bit, but it was raining. It was getting
earlier.
Rain. It's like,
yeah.
Now the sun's out.
It's sunny here, so I'm enjoying life here. But I know I heard it's starting to but we're getting into that season where it's getting rainy and it's going to start getting cold. So, a lot of your home, when you're own a home, is maintaining it, and that's how you prevent a lot of problems from happening down the road, like really big problems. So Bryan, I'm going to be quiet and let you take it over, and you tell us all your tips and what homeowners can do to keep their home nice and cozy and safe and maintained.
Yeah, so I'm going to be talking about some fall maintenance tips, tips to help your house last longer, and even tips to help you really save money, energy, um, through heat and that kind of thing. So first, we're going to be talking about weatherproofing your home. So going through and checking all your windows and doors, making sure that they all have weather stripping around it and that you can't see any light coming through, because you just don't want any of those drafts in the wintertime. I know some people put like towels and that kind of thing at the bottom, and those are doors that have bad weather strips. Um, Another good thing is insulating and sealing attic accesses. I know a lot of the time those are out of sight, out of mind. But if there's no insulation above them, you're actually losing a lot of heat from inside to your attic hatches, and those also need to be sealed as well, so you don't get any of that unwanted
Because heat
air.
rises, right? That makes total sense because heat
Yep.
rises. And so if all your heat's going up and it's going into an uninsulated attic, it's just going to go out and not being kept in and kind of like a, it's called a glass house effect, grass, or no, what am I trying to say? Um,
Uh,
anyway, where you put vegetables and stuff to grow them, a growing
Oh,
house effect.
a greenhouse.
yeah, there
Thank
you go.
you. That's
Yep.
what I'm trying to say. We're
Honestly,
playing
it even helps.
It's fun.
And it even
But yeah,
helps in the summer times as well. So when the attics get really hot, you don't get any of that heat down into the home. I know whenever I go through and I hit my infrared on those attic hatches, the ones that aren't insulated are just red because
Mhm.
a lot of the heat from up there is coming down.
okay.
Another thing to remember is sealing any holes or protrusions through the walls or ceiling. So where like gas supply lines come in or electrical, sometimes there's holes around that where crawl space air or even attic air can get in. So going through those areas and just using something like a flex seal or one of those foam seal things just to kind of close that off.
And you can
Um,
get most of the stuff at a like Lowe's or something pretty inexpensively. I mean, like most of the stuff you're talking about so far has been stuff that a homeowner could do pretty cheap or pretty inexpensively and just picking up a
yep.
couple items at Lowe's right
Yeah, as
now,
far as
right?
like the gutter stripping, the insulation that you would put over the accesses, and then the flex seal. Yep, all that you can find at Home Depot or Lowe's.
Okay.
Next, I'm going to talk a little bit about outdoor maintenance. Some stuff like cleaning gutters, checking your downspouts, making sure that those aren't clogged. I know some downspouts go underground, so you really want to keep gutters clean because if they're clogged, you won't know about it until it's water's coming up, and then it could potentially go down into the crawl space and that kind of stuff. So cleaning gutters seems like a menial thing, but it's very important just for the overall drainage of everything happening. And
Mm-hmm.
then also the grading around the house. You really want to make sure that that's not coming towards the house and it's kind of grading away from the house because we are coming up on winter time where all it does is rain. So we want to keep the water away from our house as much as possible. Um, Another big tip is keeping branches that are overhanging the roof trimmed back at least 10 feet. That'll help with debris on the roof, branches getting a lot of snow that are heavy and then potentially falling onto the roof. And that'll also help with like I said, debris, moss, stuff getting into the gutters and that kind of thing. And then another one that a lot of people don't or seem to miss a lot is sealing the cracks and gaps in the foundation. So if it's a concrete foundation, you want to make sure that all the cracks are sealed because what will happen is in the wintertime, it will rain and the rain will get in there, freeze. And after doing that for so many years, the cracks will actually become worse. And then you might have some movement or displacement in the foundation. So keeping those things sealed and water just out of the crawl space is a huge, huge tip.
And that would be a big ticket item if you're trying to sell your house and you had to fix your house, your foundation. That would be a huge, the foundation would be a huge ticket item as far as probably to fix it. So just that little bit of maintenance. And what kind of stuff would you put in there to fix it or to make
So
sure it's nice?
I always recommend like a concrete epoxy. Usually comes in these tubes that kind of look like a caulking tube. And what you want to do is shove that nozzle as far down in the cracks as you can and just fill it in. And if you can, go on the other side, like the crawl space side, and get it from there too, if it is all the way through. And that just ensures that no water is going to get in there and freeze and that kind of stuff.
Perfect. Okay. Good.
Then
Good
next
tip.
up is chimney and fireplace maintenance. So these are kind of things that another thing that are kind of out of sight, out of mind, especially inside the chimney. So on the roof, you want to make sure that there's a cap. It's very common to see chimneys without a rain cap, but you definitely want to have that. So what'll happen when you don't have it is rain will come down into the chimney. It'll deteriorate the mortar. It'll kind of do the same thing at the foundation. It can freeze, make cracks worse. So definitely getting a cap on your chimney. And then sealing any cracks on the chimney that it might have, because again, the same effect will happen as water gets in there. The mortar that's in there will deteriorate. And then if you see any moss up on the chimney, that is also kind of crucial as far as deteriorating brick, mortar. So getting that off as well is pretty important. And then keeping the moss off the roof too is pretty important as well. And that's something you don't really want to do in the wintertime, just with the weather and all that kind of stuff.
And I know that I learned this a long time ago when I was doing real estate when I was first starting, and it's like people are going out and power washing their roofs, like with the composite. That's a bad thing, right?
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, we never recommend power washing or even really brushing of the moss off the roofs. I know some companies do the soft wash, and really, I don't even like that. I just don't think water needs to be sprayed at a roof. And there's a lot of companies that actually do it very non-abrasively. So they'll go up there and they actually do it in treatments. And then the moss actually just kind of falls off at that point. And there's no scrubbing or power washing. Because when you do all that, it's really hard on the shingles and the granules. It'll knock a lot of that off. You can even get water up under the shingles, which is you definitely don't want that, and that kind of stuff. So.
Okay.
And then moving on to some interior stuff to take care of before the winter time, making sure that all your smoke detectors are in place and functioning. And areas that they need to be are every bedroom, outside of the bedrooms, and then on every level of the home. And same goes for the CO detectors. Those actually just need to be on the outside of every bedroom, and then inside the garage if there's a detached or an attached garage with gas appliances. And then really the biggest thing is having the HVAC system cleaned and maintenance. You definitely don't want that thing to go out in the middle of the winter time because a lot of the time everybody's is going out. So you may even be on a waiting list to get your heat fixed. So you'll have to bring in the heaters, and that's just never fun. So definitely get your HVAC system maintenance. Keep the filters clean. We usually recommend switching those out every 30 to 90 days. And that'll help the overall functionability of the HVAC system. And I think that's about all I have as far as.
What about spiders? Ooh, they're coming in.
They are, yeah. Really crawl space accesses, so the screens, that kind of stuff, you really want to keep those secured so no critters get in there. Because like you said, spiders, mice, rats, it is getting cold outside, so they're going to try to find somewhere to live. So keeping those screens shut, that's actually a good tip there is keeping all the screens and openings around the foundation closed so nothing gets up in there.
Very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I think you also mentioned before we came on too about the bibs for the like the faucets stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't want to have water faucets burst and
Nope.
all over.
So removing hoses, that's a big one. And then getting those little insulated hose bib covers that you kind of see on all the hose bibs, that's pretty important just because you don't want those to freeze. And they will in the wintertime, they'll freeze and then they could potentially bust like you mentioned. So just getting that insulation on there is super crucial.
Bryan, those were some great tips. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know that was a big help to all of our viewers out there who are homeowners that are, or maybe getting their first home and needing to do some of this stuff, or somebody who's been not doing it for a long time and needs to do that too. But definitely a lot of good tips. And thank you for joining us. And if they need to get a hold of you for home inspections, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
You can visit our website, HomeTrooper.us. We're on there. We're on social media, Facebook, Instagram, which is just home.trooper. Or you can just give us a call at 360-517-0673. We're usually always pretty available. So if you want to schedule or even to just have a question or a concern, feel free to give us a shout. We're usually pretty available. So yeah, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
It was great having you.
And
Thanks so much for all the great tips.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you for your service as well. And thank you guys for everyone for watching today. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, or follow button, depending on which social media service or which social media platform you're on. And we'd love to hear some feedback. Thanks so much. It didn't go. Just a reminder. There you go. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.